I have recently started to see a lot of content pop up around a very particular movement that is gaining traction and has gained traction over the past decade with people my age as well as the upcoming generations. The movement is known as FIRE, or Financial Independence Retire Early. I'm sure you've heard the word before. In my opinion, I believe that this movement is dangerous, and in today's video I'm going to dive into why I think that is. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Reese, and in today's video I'm putting my thoughts onto the big screen about the FIRE movement. Here we go. The FIRE movement is basically a program of extreme savings and investment that gives the people who follow it the potential to retire years far earlier than any regular budget plan or financial plan would allow them to. The general idea behind the movement is to put anywhere up to 70% of your income into savings, where you build up a large portfolio of just basically cash, and then with that cash you can quit your job and slowly start to take money out of it, where eventually you'll hit the age of retirement and you will have lived all these years before your actual retirement age just off of that big pool of money. That's it in simple terms. So the main thing to take away from what the FIRE movement is trying to achieve is basically just having that pool of money that you can withdraw from, let's say somewhere in the realm of 3 to 4% each year, depending on how much you save. But ultimately, if you save up a large amount of money, the idea of drawing 3 to 4% could give you decades of literally not having to work a job and just being able to live off that money. Sounds great in practice. Now, before I start to break it down and put my thoughts into the mix, I just want to tell you about the 4 specific categories of the FIRE movement. There are 4 of them because each of them are more tailored depending on how basically willing you are to give this a real go. So I'm just going to break them down now. The 4 categories are Fat FIRE, which refers to someone with a more traditional lifestyle who saves more than the average retirement investor. The second category is Lean FIRE, which refers to a very strict adherence to minimalist living and extreme savings, which necessitates a far more restricted lifestyle, basically keeping it very, very strict. The third category is Barista FIRE, which refers to people who have quit their traditional 9-to-5 jobs and still choose to work part-time to cover their current expenses. Otherwise, they would basically deplete their retirement fund too quickly. So they're the people who can't just fully quit their jobs, they have to continue working. And the fourth category is Coast FIRE, which also applies to people who do this FIRE movement, but basically they still work a part-time job because they do not have enough saved to fund their retirement off of their current living expenses. Okay, time for my input. Firstly, for the people who think that this movement is worth trying. To begin, off the bat, for 99% of the people who try to attempt this is not going to be easy. It's not going to be something that you can do consistently. So many things are going to get in the way. Wants, goals, life occurrences, unexpected occurrences. You can't plan for stuff like that, and you can't just turn off all of your desires and to own things and have experiences, travel, whatever it is. Realistically, most people, or the majority of people who attempt this, are not going to be able to stick it out. Now, for the 1% who potentially could do it, there is no way that locking away 70% of your income every single year for a prolonged period of time is going to be sustainable. For starters, there's no way. Like I said before, too many things are going to get in your way. But let's say you do it. Let's say you achieve it, right? As time goes on, you are going to start to realize on all of the things you missed out on because you never even considered doing them. You never even considered, oh, I should take 1 year worth of that money, or I should take a portion of that money and go on a holiday while I'm young and in my youth. Realistically, there will be things when you get to this end goal that you will look back on and say, I should have done that. In the total scheme of things, it was nothing for me to go on a holiday to this place. It's an example, it doesn't have to be a holiday, but the point that I'm making here is that you might look back when you get to that end result and go, I regret doing this, it wasn't worth it. Or the end result you get to may not actually be what you thought it would be. Let's say, just hypothetical, that you think that you're gonna have $100,000 a year to go spending for 10 years of your life. You might get there, but realistically you might not. And if you don't achieve it and you're living off $40,000 a year, you'll probably find yourself living a lower quality level of life, having sacrificed all those years before as well. Having that on your mind is not going to be something that you're going to be happy about. Think ahead, really picture yourself in that situation, and you tell me, would you be happy if you worked for 30 years of your life and you could only spend $30,000 to $40,000 a year for the last 10 years of your life before retirement? Realistically, it's not going to be something that is going to let you live a really fulfilling lifestyle. Now, obviously, there are caveats to the doubt that I'm casting on this movement. There definitely will be some people that fit this mold. You might be extremely introverted and just honestly have no massive goals that you want to achieve in life, and that's fine. Realistically, this could be something that would work for you. On top of that, you might be someone who decides to live at home and has the opportunity to live at home without the expenditure of rent and groceries and bills until your late 30s or 40s, which could probably put you in a pretty good position to achieve a goal like this at the sacrifice of being independent. Nothing wrong with it. I don't judge for whatever you want to do. Just understand that if you're in that situation, you might actually fall into the category of someone who can actually do this. And the most common reason that would allow you to move into this FIRE space and actually achieve the movement's end goal would be if you were to inherit a large sum of money from a loved one or a relative when they unfortunately pass away. Realistically, using that money wisely to kind of fund this goal, it's a potentially viable way to achieve it. I'm just touching on it because yes, it exists. Yes, it may be achievable, but realistically for the majority of people, it's going to be something that they're going to have to work from scratch. And that's why I said what I said earlier about it being probably not a sustainable way of life for a long period of time. Now back to just everyone being brought into the mix of what this FIRE movement means for them if they were to say, okay, I'm going to attempt this from day one. It's not that I doubt your ability to save money or save 70% of your income for a prolonged period of time. I'm sure that you can be a tight ass. I can be a tight ass, and there's nothing wrong with it. I actually like tight asses. It's a great analogy because realistically, it just means you're doing something responsible with your money. But the overarching issue here is that there will be roadblocks that get in the way of you keeping this sustainable and constant. An idea off the top of my head would be inflation. I'll just use inflation as an example. Let's say you save $1 million. Let's say you save $1 million. That's fantastic. That's a massive achievement. Realistically, that $1 million today will not be worth $1 million in 10 years from now. If inflation continues, which so far, that's how economies have basically worked for the last however many decades, if not centuries. So the concept here is that basically when you get to the point of retirement and you've saved all this cash, everyone knows that cash doesn't really grow as fast as things like investments, real estate. It's just how the model's kind of followed. Realistically, when you get to this end goal, that $1 million might be significantly deflated, where a bottle of water that no longer costs $1, it costs $10 now, and you will chew through that money much quicker. For real world perspective, I myself, at the age of 26, am someone who earns over a 6-figure salary between my income and my wage and my investments. Realistically, do not believe I could follow the FIRE movement and see it through. I am very disciplined with money. I am constantly finding ways to improve my financial position. I am looking for goals and methods to increase my annual income. So basically continually growing it at this young age. And I still don't believe in my ability to do it. If that isn't enough to solidify this mindset of how difficult it would be to do this, prove me wrong. Because if it's that difficult for someone who's in the prime position to see this movement through, and I do not believe I can do it, I don't understand how people who are nowhere near or not even looking at the big picture, I don't understand how they can do it. I don't understand how someone can go, yep, I'm going to start the FIRE movement, I'm going to do it for 20 years. And they just go. And I don't understand how it's possible. So with my rant out of the way, this is where I tie in a more realistic and achievable goal that could basically set you up financially over the course of the next however many years of your life and put you in a position to basically take the steps you need to take to live a comfortable life, one that's fulfilling, and one that doesn't have you worrying about money. It technically takes aspects of the FIRE movement, which is good. It's a good thing. There's bits in the FIRE movement that I like, but just going straight FIRE, I don't resonate well with that. So let's jump into some of these alternatives and let's pick apart the bits of the FIRE movement that I think are good. If I had to put myself into one of the categories that I talked about earlier, I myself would probably fall into the fat FIRE category because I live a relatively traditional lifestyle and I don't spend money on anything that would basically blow my income out of proportion and put it out of whack, realistically allowing me to save more than the average earner. Here's the thing though, between now and the later years of my life, I am going to want to chase accounted for and unaccounted for experiences that I definitely do not want to miss out on. Examples would be things like having kids, going on holidays, and renovating my house. These are things that will add value to my life. It's not the fact that I'll be able to go on a holiday all around Europe and flaunt my cash. It's that I will be able to go and have that experience and eat in any restaurant that I want, not having to worry about spending money. The idea behind it is that I'm going to build a life for myself that allows me to experience the things as I go through life. I might not be able to do it to the max, but I definitely will enjoy every moment of it because it will be planned for, and each of them will be accounted for financially. This is why I preach so hard on this channel to develop good money habits and discipline to an appropriate level when it comes to managing your money. FIRE movement in a whole is an extreme. I do not suggest going too extreme, but being complacent is the opposite of extreme, basically not being balanced, and this situation causes money stress. This situation causes a pretty lacking experience lifestyle. It's kind of boring. Find the balance and then do the best you possibly can in that situation. Most people who find this balance won't have to worry about putting food on the table, but will also enjoy every aspect of their life. Also, they should enjoy some of it. I think the overarching point of today's video is to not sacrifice the earlier years in your life for the opportunity to retire at a point in time that it's too late to enjoy a fulfilling life. Live your life one day at a time, but put a tiny bit more effort into managing your money every day, with the outcome of you being able to enjoy your life every day. It gets to a point where it gets easier for sure. Like the position I'm in now, I'm not gonna lie, it's great, but I've worked hard to get here. But it's paying off because I do get to enjoy my life. And I can't encourage anyone any more than what I'm encouraging you now to give it a go, because it's not that hard. It just takes time. The FIRE movement is definitely not guaranteed. It will take a lot of things to fall into place, as well as a lot of hard work for it to actually pay off for most people. All I can say is that extreme high rates of savings at the expense of your quality of life and your lifestyle, in my opinion, is definitely something that people who are undertaking this movement aren't fully considering, and they're kind of just jumping in balls deep, which may potentially affect them in the form of regret later in life. That's just my opinion, and now you've heard it. So thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. Overall, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. I hope it made you think a little bit about the FIRE movement, and I hope that you learned something out of it. If you did enjoy it, please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help the channel. And as always, I will see you in the next one.